Oh, hello everybody. Looks like we're at the Bold Inventor Show. First sound is ooh. Made a mistake. Oh, anyway, we're live. We're live. 2 out of 3 channels today: LinkedIn and YouTube. We've been X'd out of X for some reason today, but I'm excited to share our awesome show again. I'm JD Houvener, owner founder here at Bold Patents Law Firm, and I'm accompanied with my trusty co-host Matt Colseth.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hi, JD.
Hey, Matt, good to see you. Happy to have you on. And, what's nice Wednesday here is spring. We're sort of embracing spring everywhere.
Yeah, we are too. It's nothing green here in Minnesota yet.
Okay.
But it's a nice day out. It must be like 50 degrees. Oh, it's 60 degrees. It's nice out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, things are blooming. We're, definitely rocking and rolling out here in Moses Lake. I even got the pool.
We need 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks.
Okay, you're still kind of thawing out in a way up there. Yeah, well, I got the pool filled up, so I'm gonna have that ready by May. Get early.
I didn't know you were a pool guy.
Yeah, I'm a pool guy. I'm the pool boy.
About you now.
Yeah.
Is it above ground or are we talking below ground?
Yeah,
Right.
above ground. So I'm entry level, but it's okay. It takes a lot. It's a salt water. Okay.
You're just getting. It's a salt water, so you're just getting your feet wet.
Yeah.
I love it.
For sure. So anyway, in fact, I just called my insurance company today. No joke. I was like, hey, this thing pops. Am I covered? And like 10 minute break. No, you're not. So I got to be careful on that.
All right.
So for those of you maybe joining for the first time, I said we got 5 viewers out there. We are attorneys, but we're not going to be giving any legal advice away today. Sorry. We're talking legal information and sharing the laws. Our, answers on questions that are hypothetical. So please don't share anything confidential. This is not the forum for that. But fire away. Please feel free to ask away any questions you've got, things on your mind. We'll be happy to answer those and take those as priority today. We've got 2 special guests today. Our title here talks about one of those guests, Peter Petroulas. Hopefully I'm saying that right, with the WizButler. We'll be interviewing him first. And then Carlo Cooper with Cooper Groove. And so we'll be having that 2 back-to-back interviews here in just a minute.
I love it. Double
header. Pretty exciting. I mean, this is the good stuff, right? Talking with inventors that are actually out there doing it. And so I thought we could skip our Q&A portion for this week and spend some more time with our guests. So I know we did a pre-session with Peter, so he's all ready to go. Let's bring him on, Matt. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Okay. Peter, welcome to the stage, the Bold Inventor Show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So good to have you. And could you pronounce your last name for me?
Petroulas.
Petroulas. Okay. I was in the ballpark. That's great. So would you please let us know what is WizButler? And how long ago did you start it off?
Look, the journey probably started more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's not something that's recent. And I guess the reason the journey started is because I was a restaurant operator. And then as a restaurant operator, you start seeing all these new systems come in, like booking systems. And they're the flavor of the month. And that's sort of in Sydney, in Australia, it was about 2010, 2012, where they started becoming popular. So then I put them in my restaurants. And then the next thing that happened is on Saturdays, I started getting calls from regulars and the people I knew who'd gone online said, hey, and after they couldn't make a booking, so they'd call me and say, went there, you're 100% full, according to your online system. Can you squeeze me in? I really need to get a table for 6. Yeah. Then I'd go to the booking system, have a look at it. I was 40% empty. And then you start scratching your head saying, hang on, this thing ain't working.
I've heard a lot of these systems out there for restaurant bookings. Right, Matt? So Open Table, I know I've used that before. Is this somewhat like that? Or is it solving the same problem?
It's solving the same problem, but the problem that I guess that all these systems have, like Open Table and 7 Rooms and Yelp, is their approach and their logic dates back to 1765. And nothing's changed.
There's a story here. There's an absolute story.
Hold on. Wow, we're going way back. I'm like, when was the Constitution? Okay, all right, here we go. He carried the 3. Okay, good.
So, because what happened back then was 1765 was a creation, as they call it, of the first modern restaurant. And by modern restaurant, what they say is it was the first time you'd actually go into one of these establishments and they just didn't give you a plate of food. They actually gave you a selection of dishes, and then you could choose which one you wanted. So it was a creation, and it started the a la carte approach.
Okay.
And
as opposed to just the bucket of stew in the by the fire.
that, that's it. So
Right.
when you had that, then the first step that happened, most of these places were quite small. So the person would go in, waiter would ask them what they wanted, they would tell the chef what it was, they would bring out the food. So your waiter did everything. So he was a complete autonomous system, if I can call it that way. Then as restaurants got bigger, the person who took your order was not necessarily the person who delivered your food, because they created this concept of a food runner. So now you needed to communicate to the food runner which table he had to take the food to. So they came up with this idea of tables. So then each table has a table number, which we all use today. So, you're on table 36 or 25 or whatever it is. So that's all terrific. And then, again, going back in history, because people started arriving in different group sizes, they then turned around and said, okay, we can push two tables together and call it a table combination. So then you had your table one, is for two people, or table one plus table two is for four people. So they created this concept of tables and table combinations, which is now taking you back to sort of 1765. So it's then when OpenTable started its first system, because they were the first online booking system.
Fast forward 250 years.
So now, yes, we're now in 1998. Okay, so OpenTable was the first booking system, then went through, seen tables and table combinations, said, hey, it makes sense to me. So they created basically a search out. They created a pool where they put in all the restaurants' table numbers and table combinations, and how many people each table or table combination would take. Then they used a search algorithm to basically come in and say someone would request a table, let's say at 7 o'clock for two people. The search algorithm would go in, say, is there a table for two people at 7 o'clock? All very simple, works perfectly. It's a huge problem though. And that is that a search algorithm can only give you what you've asked it. And that is, there's a table of two available. But what happens when there's 20 tables of two available? Which table do you actually allocate the booking to?
Okay.
Now, that's the problem, because when you allocate the booking to that table, you don't know what the next booking request is going to be, and the next booking request, and the next booking request. So whatever table you put it on, theoretically, it could be the wrong table, or it is the wrong table, because it's sort of a little bit like a game of Tetris, where you've got to put all these bricks in, all these bookings, in a sensible way. And when you're sort of using these tables and table combinations, you've created mathematical terms an optimization problem. And that optimization problem is NP complete. And all mathematicians know a computer cannot solve an NP complete problem, even if you give it 100 years of computational time.
Okay.
And that's the problem. So when because when you then in effect start allocating these bookings at random, or even if you think you're using logic, your logic is still wrong because you don't know what the next booking is. And that's what creates a problem, because you end up with all these bookings scattered around your restaurant, and you've got empty tables trapped between the book tables.
Okay. So you're saying the current algorithms by most, and we use OpenTable as an example, uses all current, okay, before WizButler, right? Okay. Use a mathematical sort of a fixed booking to a table instead of allowing there to be adaptation of table quantities and just having that sort of allocation instead of a reservation.
So correct. Every single booking system, when a new booking request arrives, make a permanent allocation on a floor plan that's already got fixed allocations on it. Okay. Now
It's static, essentially, right? I'm got a reservation on table 33 at 6:30. Hold it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's crazy because and then the booking comes in from a high-end client who wants 10 seats, and that's 32 and 34 no longer, they can't be used anymore because you've got 33 already locked in.
That's 100% correct.
Okay.
So what we found with our research is when a restaurant is about 60% to 65% full, that fragmentation starts rejecting bookings. And most restaurants actually don't know that they're actually rejecting bookings when they're only 60 to 65% full. That's huge.
Yeah.
And then when you get a restaurant that's actually 100% full, to get those perfect matches in between, the demand profile for that service actually needs to be 150%. So it's not that restaurants can't fill up with these systems. They can, but their underlying demand profile is actually 50% more than their capacity.
Yikes. Wow. Interesting.
That's interesting.
Okay. So have you implemented this? Does this actually work?
Well, 100%. I've been working on the software for 5 years, testing for the last year.
Goodness sakes. So go ahead.
What I did is, if you go back to what they're doing in their allocation system, they're basically using a two-dimensional framework where you've got tables down one axis and then you've got the booking times across the other. Yep. So as soon as you have tables on an axis, then you can't move the tables. You can't rearrange the tables. So when I looked at it, because of my background, what the limiting factor for a restaurant is actually its space. And once you start talking about space and you start saying, okay, my restaurant, that's its length, that's its width, this is my space, this is where columns are. Now, what you've done is you've taken the tables off the axis. Because you've taken the tables off the axis, they're now free to move within your grid. So what we've done is turned around and said, firstly, space is your limiting factor. How you rearrange the tables depends on your booking sizes as they come in. And then what we do each time a booking request comes in, and this is obviously before service, because during service, you don't want to have these musical tables or Tetris game going on. What we do, we unseat everybody. We add the new booking request together with all the unseated bookings. Okay. Then when you make your allocation, you're making it with full knowledge at that point in time. So if you go back to the scenario of a VIP who always wants to sit on table one, because everybody's unseated, you can put the VIP on table one. If you have someone who wants to pay you a little bit more because now you're sort of getting into revenue management because they want a private booth or they want a view or whatever, well then you can actually allocate them there. And you go through.
I got a question for you, and I've got a little bit of background about you, and I think you know this answer, but this is probably how companies like Southwest Airlines do their magic, is it not?
Yes. Look, Southwest is actually very, very lucky because prior to me sort of getting in the restaurant industry, I spent 15 years in aviation. And people have tried to use revenue management in restaurants for 40 years and failed. And the reason they failed is because with an airline, they come back, and if you've got a family of 4 traveling and there's 4 seats left and they're not next to each other, that's okay because they just split the family. So therefore they can use revenue management because they can always guarantee their inventory is 100% full because they split the customer. In a restaurant, you can't split a family of 4. They've got to be on the same table. So when you have flexible inventory, then what Southwest does, or American or United or anyone else, doesn't work. So you've got to be able to manage your inventory before you can apply revenue management. That's where WizButler comes in because now we can actually reallocate, rearrange in real time. And for the first time, you have proper revenue management because whatever all the other systems have been doing up until now, they call revenue management, but really it's just a discounting system. They've got, discounts for happy hour. They've got discounts for off-peak. While what I'm talking about is actually giving people the ability to upgrade, for if they want an extra benefit or something additional, then you're upgrading that process.
Love it. I want to show off your website here a little bit, WizButler.com. It's hard to miss this logo here, U.S. patented. So, for the most part, business methods and algorithms are really tough alone to get patented. You must have come up with some nice, good language with respect to, how to showcase what the novel implementation is for a specific restaurant. How did you overcome that?
Look, I've actually got 2 US patents, 2 core US patents, if I can call it, with a lot of continuing applications as we keep trying to expand that protection. Because no one had ever ventured into space as a management within a restaurant, our framework is very broad. It's not prescriptive. And if you look at the claim, it's as simple as receive a new booking request, unseat previous bookings, add them together, reallocate them.
Okay.
That is as simple as the claim is on the patent. And that's sort of the space patent. And then we've got another patent that's to do with robotics and robotic waiters. And what this... I'm
going to try to speed you along, Peter. I hate to do this, but okay, so let's talk about some hurdles and challenges you've had. We have a lot of people listening on this call that can appreciate some of the success you've had and know that it's taken 10 years. Tell me about your toughest spots. If you could tell yourself, looking back, what you would do differently, next time.
Look, I mean, the thing is, with patents, I mean, they take a long time. There's a lot of backwards and forwards because they go in there, they do a search, the entire world's database, they find the word reservation, then all of a sudden, you've got 150 documents that you've got to go through and talk to them and sort of explain to them why their use of the word reservation is completely different to yours. So that process is very long and lengthy. But I guess the way I sort of see it, sort of like going to a casino. When you've got to go there, you've got to play the game. And as a small person, if you don't play the game, then you've got nothing. So whether you like it or not, you've got to go and do it. And the reason I sort of say it's a little bit like a casino is you go and put your patent application in. As soon as you put your patent application in, everybody knows what you're doing because it's published. So then if you actually don't get your patent, then that's where the casino comes in. You've lost all your money. Yep. Or if you do, then at least, you've got a chance going forward. Yeah,
and so with patents, I mean, it's really a shield. You're really preventing anyone else from doing this. You're blocking your competitive advantage. And so I wanted to ask if you've seen any infringement, anybody else trying to rip you off since you've got this published.
At the moment, what they've all done is they've changed their terminology. So they're no longer talking about tables and table combinations. They're talking about spaces and areas. To give the implication it's different. They've gone and they've created what they call dynamic allocations. But these allocations are after a booking has either been taken or rejected. So they're sort of after the event things. So they haven't infringed, if I call it that way. But what they've done is they're sort of working around it to give the impression that we're the same.
So they're more reactive in terms of how they're allocating these tables, where you're very prescriptive with these are the spaces that we have, these are the clients that are coming in this night, and this is how we're going to optimize for space.
Well, what we do is for each restaurant, we've got to put their floor plan to scale in the system. We put their furniture to scale. So then all of a sudden, and they'll turn around, for example, and say, hey, don't sit anyone here because it's a blind spot when we come out of the kitchen. We can see, there's a fire exit there, so we don't put anyone there. So we put all those constraints in. We talk to the restaurant as to how they would do it because, maybe they sort of put people in one section first before another section. And then when the allocations are done, it would be identical to what the restaurant manager would have done himself had he been there 24/7 real time.
Lovely. Peter, we don't have a whole lot of time. I wanted to take a minute, if we could, on your branding. And we've got Matt here. We're at Bold. We help inventors with both patents and trademarks. So WizButler, have you decided to register that?
He's got a big trademark.
Hey, nice. What do you mean, Matt?
He's got WizButler is published for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 classes at the USPTO.
Oh my gosh.
Peter, he went all in.
Good work. Goodness sakes.
If you go all in with the patent, you've got to go all in with the trademark.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Good.
yeah, let me know if you need help filing those statements of use at some point. Let me know because I know it's gonna be complicated. So,
Appreciate it.
okay.
Good. Well, Peter, okay, give us a 30-second. What's coming up this year? What are your big goals? What's coming up in the next couple of years for you?
Well, I think it's now rolling out the system. And again, I'm really looking for a different way to do it, because my whole approach has always been go back to first principles, look at it from scratch, and do it differently. Because if you're just another person doing the same thing, I don't think you'll end up where you want to get to. So now it's sort of going through that process of understanding we're working in the gig economy, understanding people work from home, seeing how I can build that into the distribution process.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming on our show. Thank you for being a bold inventor and sharing your story with us here today. I'm going to put you backstage. Hang tight if you want. If you're able to hang in there to the end of the show, we'll do a critique, bold Shark Tank critique, and we'll chat with you later. Thanks again, Peter.
Thank you.
All right, Matt,
Cool.
and everyone else, we're ready for our second guest.
Let's do it.
You ready? Stretch out. Let's do it.
Good.
We've got to get loose because we've got Carlo Cooper with Cooper Groove coming on our show. Carlo, welcome to the program.
How's it going? I had to use my phone because I need to get an updated laptop, but it's great to see you guys.
So good to see you in live in color action.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So glad we got you on video because for our live audience, we'll be able to show off maybe some physical objects you might have close by if you got a hand or two. So,
are we talking thunder sticks today? Are we talking golf?
Oh, well, you'll see. You don't have to ask me questions.
All
I
right.
did see a musical note behind you. So is that I believe
Yeah,
that's
the framework. I'm going to do a giant treble clef on my wall.
Cool.
Okay.
I'm a drummer, so I love the treble clef for some reason. It's my favorite symbol.
It's an interesting shape, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
All right, we'll show your website off a little bit, but CG, you have this cool slogan, best in grip technology. Let us in. How did you get started with this and where are you going?
So, the expression necessity is the mother of invention. Well, as a drummer, I've been playing drums for a long time. Your hands slip, drumstick handles are smooth. Usually they're lacquered. So your hands slip. So my hands were slipping, from sweat and just, getting tired from squeezing the sticks. So I would sand my sticks and then I would tape them, but I refused to wear gloves. That's really where this all begins. Because I'm like, I'm not going to wear gloves and play the drums. There's just no way, unless I really, really had to, because it just cuts off your connection. It's a very organic instrument. It's been around for hundreds of years. You're connected to it with your hands, your feet and your hands, right?
Yeah.
So I made some scratches down the stick, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to design this. So I ended up making grooves in the handle, found out how to do that. It was a big journey. Actually, it's good to talk to you guys right now because I'm just embarking on my next decade of Cooper Groove.
Congratulations.
So, thanks, man. So on the side, I launched the sticks, and then I came out. There's a rubber-based water resin that's a little tacky, but you can see the grooves. So I have utility and a design patent for the grooves. I sold 12,000 pairs on the side, starting out of my apartment, with unbelievable testimonies, mind blowing.
12,000?
12,000 just on the side. And that's over the last 8 years though. But that's from people recommending them. I've never really pushed them out there. I got 3 kids, I've had a job and all that. So, and I've developed other products, but when I got these testimonials back, I literally had tears in my eyes because I knew they increased your grip, because it's not a smooth, slippery handle. And I knew the air could get in there. There's air, there's gaps, there's 20 grooves in the handle, and I knew they tingled your pressure points, right? It's not a dull surface. You have 3 major nerves in your hands. I had no idea they eliminate pain. They decrease or eliminate fatigue, shock, slips, cramps, drops, gloves, tape, wax. I mean, they're miracle sticks. I have drummers that have fingers sewed back on that have arthritis, tendonitis, carpal tunnel, cerebral palsy, you name it, all these different issues. And, they can't hold on to the sticks, or it hurts when they do. But because these touch on your nerves, they don't hurt them. So, I mean, I have literally 5-star across the board, life-changing reviews. And when I found out that they eliminate pain, I'm like, I have to do this. Like, I would be a real jerk to not really get it out there and help more people. So then long story short, now I'm working with baseball bats. But
Oh
let
my
me point
God.
out that the
Yeah.
drumstick handle has always looked this smooth for about 600 years, right?
Yeah.
I changed it after 600 years. Now it's no longer something that just strikes objects. It's a constant connection. That's what it's about, man. You never lose the connection with what's in your hands.
Hmm.
So luckily that design is truly a breakthrough. I mean, it's been beta tested beyond belief. So I decided to put it into baseball bats because what the grooves also do is they display shock, right? It's not a solid
Hey,
surface.
Carl, let me interrupt you just for a quick sec. Let's
Yeah.
get a little bit nerdy and technical. I mean, did you have to spend some time and be like, oh, I want a 43.5 degree angle, right? I want
Oh,
to
good question.
transfer with. Did you go there? Did you go test back and forth and dial it
Well,
in?
what I did is, so I started with just like a hacksaw in a basement, you know.
Yeah.
But then
Right.
when I got this local guy here, he put the sticks on a CNC machine with a 90-degree grooving bit. So
Okay.
90 degrees is like the ultimate angle because any less, it's just not significant enough, you know, and you don't want so, and it's very comfortable because the grooves go on an angle, they're flush with the surface, you know, so it's not like but you know what I mean? And then they
Yep.
form to your hands because they're on angles. So I guess, you know, it's kind of an intentional happy accident. So now I'm working with baseball bats. You just, you know, what it's like, it's so much work, especially if you're doing it on your own with limited capital, kids, jobs. I got 2 cats running around here. So
Right.
now I'm working on baseball bats.
So the utility patent is on grooves around a cylindrical object. Is that it?
Well, it's on the drumstick as a
Okay.
percussion, you know, mallets and percussion. But
Yep.
inside the utility patent, it mentions every, you know, golf, baseball, bats, you know, everything. And it mentions any material. But I don't, you know, I also have a design patent for the drumsticks. And then I got a design patent for the baseball bats. Same concept, bigger object, much bigger market. You're talking like the baseball bat market, the wood bat is like 12 to 15 times size of the drumstick market.
Right. I mean, and I mean, in terms of professional sports, I believe they're the highest paid, and so it's a lot
Yeah.
of money in baseball. So that's very exciting. Talking about same question I asked Peter. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. Have you noticed any copycats? Counterfeits? Anybody ripping you off?
Not
No,
yet.
man, bring it on, dude. Like
Okay.
no one's doing anything.
All right.
Um,
All right.
honestly, you know, and I'm not bragging because one day I will frame the paycheck I write myself, but I'm not bragging, but there's nothing like this on the market. And having a CNC machine that holds 6 sticks and does one at a time for years and years and running all these patterns, I've seen all the other patterns. And this is the one that works, you know, it's like the perfect groove, as you know, as cheesy as it sounds, there's like the perfect groove. And if the groove is too big, you know, compromises the strength of the handle, it's uncomfortable. It could, you know, cause, you know, your hand blisters, it could hurt you. It's not comfortable. So yeah, but you know, like I said, this has been beta tested beyond belief right now, at least as far as the drumsticks go.
Okay, so let's talk about baseball bats because that's really the market you're going for now. If so, walk us through what's your approach. Obviously, it's a completely different market segment from musicians and drummers. How are you getting in? How are you getting your start?
So first of all, like I'll show you that this is the baseball bat. Again, the grooves go into the handle, right? So you're not adding in our culture, wrap it, tape it, fix it, suppress it, put a cushion, do this, do that. That takes away from your grip. I took away from the product, you know. So, but with baseball, you know, it's not easy. But I just my sister's a flight attendant for Delta, and she's my biggest cheerleader out there in the world, even though she's like 5'4". But she met this scout for like a really like a very well-known Japanese team, and he's an MLB retired scout here in the US. So he scouts these MLB guys to go over to Japan and play, you know, before they get into the MLB to make some money and get their career going. So he's actually helping me out, man. He's a blessing, really unbelievable.
That is cool. I mean, now, are you gonna try to get these in hands of baseball players? Maybe you already have, and get some
Yeah, like
verification.
the testing I've done hasn't been with the professionals, you know, but I've had, you know, adults, college, high school, and I get the same feedback. It didn't sting my hands a bit, even if it was cold out, even with no gloves. So right now, I'm having my machine. It's down in Alabama. I'm having it shipped up to Chicago. It'll be modified to be able to do the bats.
Cool.
And then I'm going to get a small batch of bats and get it going. But right now, I had a very good investor meeting yesterday. So if I can get an investor, I'm just going to contract a baseball bat company to make bats, make the bats and do the grooves and all that, because I don't really make anything. So, it's not what I do.
Yeah, amazing. And in terms of the performance, it's really not. I mean, I don't know what the rules are. I'm not an MLB, but I mean, would they be able to use a bat like this, or would it have
Absolutely,
to go through
yeah.
some sanctioning body to get it?
Yeah, I suppose it's not, you're not adding, it's not a grip on it, right?
Well, here's the thing: is I know the MLB regulations. So I'm not as smart as I look, but okay, from 0 to 18 inches up the handle, right? You can modify the handle, but it has to be one solid piece of wood.
Right.
But after 18 inches is where most of the balls strike. So you can't alter the wood, put metal in there, or change the shape. But you can alter the handle, and it vibrates just like a regular bat. But when your hands are on it, you don't feel that electricity going through it. You don't. Plus, your hands it's like it's honestly like an anomaly, because as soon as you grip this, your hands relax, and then when you relax, you perform way better. Obviously, in anything. You know what I mean? So so this isn't easy, man. I mean, I always do the hard stuff, but it's awesome. I love it.
Okay, I'm going to show up your website a little bit, and is that how you plan to go to market? Is through online?
Well, my new website's about to come up now, so this is like just my website. But so right now, I'm talking to investors. I'm getting my machine up here, getting bats. I have access to the world of Japanese baseball and baseball in the United States, so that's really key. Like these, and then he knows other people that can get these bats into hands and get some feedback on them, because the pros have never swung the bat, but everyone that holds on to it, I mean, it just feels great. It just absolutely, and you could use gloves, or you don't need to have gloves. It's not really up to you.
Yeah. And in terms of what the customer's going to see, and this kind of goes to trademarks, what branding are they going to see, and how are you going to protect them?
Well, the grooves are patented, design patent for the baseball bat.
Sure.
But as far as, I'm not sure if I'm gonna, I might private label bats, because I do want to. The other thing about the bat handles is, you can't tell in this picture, but this is 0.97 inches in diameter. It's not even an inch in diameter. So a drumstick is a half inch in diameter, and you're only hitting, drums, and you're hitting a ball coming at you going 80, 90, 100 miles an hour. So, so basically, so what I want to do is I want to make the handle thicker, because I want to do like a 1.10 inch handle, because you're already going to take away from it with the groove. So it's going to feel a little smaller, but you're going to have more power, and you're not going to, you're going to relax more. You know what I mean? You're not going to have to wrap your fingers around it, because, when you tighten your fingers, you can see the blood, like the blood doesn't flow, it's,
well, I imagine
I've learned a lot about hands and all that. So yeah,
this is pretty cool. I worked at Boeing. They did a lot of what's called fatigue testing. I mean, how many swings of the bat can this hand? I mean, if you're cutting into it, a normal bat, one that's cut is probably not going to is going to fail sooner. Is that kind of one of the other reasons why you might be getting the diameter larger?
That's one small reason. What's so interesting about this technology? So how like a new innovation comes out, and then there's no law for it.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, so they both major baseball bat universities cannot right now, unless I paid them a ton of money, cannot test my design, because all they test is the bat. They shoot balls at it, hit it with a hammer. But what about the human hands? That's the whole paradigm shift. When you buy a bicycle, $5,000 bicycle, the grips are not good. You probably, get blisters, or your hands will sweat. You're on a $5,000 bicycle, and how you connect with it is like, I had a Harley, I had a $20,000 Harley, and my right hand would go numb. We're going 80 miles an hour, and my right hand's going numb. That's, so in other words, it's how we connect. I want to, let's look at the handle. Let's look at the grip. If you can, get rid of the gloves, get rid of the wrap, feel what's in your hands. If you wear gloves and play the piano, good luck, man. You're not going to sound too good, But so, and also I have some gloves I'm designing too that will complement the grooves into the handle of the bat. So there's a lot to be done. Just got to get some gas in the tank,
Yeah, well, best of luck. Sounds like you had a good call yesterday with the investors, and happy to have you on our show. Thank you for sharing your story a little bit.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
I always ask this, but one of those, would you sort of give yourself advice. You've been doing this for 10 years, things you might do differently next time. What are those kind of like, I wish I would have? Do you have any of those?
One of the things is, it depends on your personality too, but if something is about, could happen, like, just keep your feet on the ground. Like, don't be too attached to the outcome, because my sticks were supposed to be licensed by a bigger company, and they just, didn't have the manpower or whatever, and they blew it off. But when I thought they were going to license, I'm like, wow, man, like Stuart Copeland and all these famous drummers are going to be using my sticks, or making their own designs, more grooves, less grooves, whatever. But it never happened. So I was really upset. So you got to keep your feet on the ground. And then, it's tricky out there, man. I know why most people don't do this, because it's not easy. But if it was easy, it wouldn't be worth it,
Yeah.
So like I said, I picked the hard stuff, man. I did stand-up comedy. I actually play in a rock band. I mean, I do the stuff that people won't do. A lot of people won't do. And, whatever, everyone's different, but.
It's so cool. Jonathan Mitchell's been commenting here as you've been talking. He says, get the product to Teacher Man Hitting. If you've ever
There's a lot of good YouTubers out there.
Aaron Judge's hitting coach, YouTube channel. So,
thanks, man. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? The biggest problem is, if you got to have money to do this. You know what I mean? Like, bootstrapping sucks, man. Like, it really does. It's tough. But I've had family help me. I've had people help me. But I have so much potential right now, billions of dollars worth of business that I can be doing. And all I need is I have the patents, I have the products, I have the proof. Once I put gas in the tank, man, I'm on a road trip. I can get stuff done. I have golf grips I designed. They're the most tactile golf grip on the market. And so I'll explain something really quick. So there's 3 different features of a grip, right? There's the size and the shape. Then there's the material it's made of, rubber, vinyl, TPU, whatever. The third feature is missing: the tactile feedback, the communication that it gives your hands. It's zilch out there. And especially if you're going to put gloves on, like even this design with gloves, you're going to feel those grooves. So number 3 is where I'm filling in the gap.
Cool.
Thank you there. It is Carlo, or do you go by Cooper?
You can call me Cooper. That's fine. Either one. When I say my name is Carlo, everyone's like, "Hey, Carlos." I'm like, "No, the S is silent." So whatever. You can call me either one. I don't care.
Cooper Nitz.
Yeah, call me the Cooperator, whatever you want. Yeah.
Great. Nice. Well, thanks again. We'll put you backstage. We're going to go to our next segment. But again, thank you again, Cooper, for sharing that.
Thanks for the advice and the tips. I appreciate you guys.